Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome to Affect Studio and welcome to part 2 of my speaker comparison video. Before we go too far into this, let's listen to another example of what the cabs are actually doing to the sound. So once again, the only change there was actually the box it's sitting in, the cab, which is, even knowing that, I think I would hear that and still assume that I was hearing different speakers as well. But it really does show you how significant the cab holding the speakers are to the overall sound. And of course, as we heard in the first video, the speaker that sounds good in one cab doesn't necessarily sound great in a different cab. Now that was my Electro-Harmonic speaker. I don't think it even tells me where it's made anywhere on it. It's the cheapest speaker I own by, a long shot. I bought that years ago just to try out, and it's actually lived in a pretty cheaply made box under my workbench, so that when I'm testing amps or building them, I can have a speaker there that doesn't matter